All right, guys, so today, if you are into audio equipment or home theater equipment or vinyl records or any of that kind of stuff, you're gonna like it. Today we're going over 3 items, so it might be a long one. So Sound United reached out to me, and if you don't know who Sound United is, it's kind of the parent company over some really good audio brands like Denon, Boston Acoustic, Polk Audio, Definitive Technologies, and several others. They're basically over a bunch of these brands. So they reached out to me and asked if I was interested in testing out several products that they had kind of grouped together as a legit audiophile quality sound system. And I was like, yes, please. Of course I would. So they sent me the 3 items that we're going to be looking at today: a receiver, a turntable, and some bookshelf speakers. And as soon as they said turntable, I was sold, because since I did that TiVo video a week or so ago, I'll link it somewhere here, I was in that kind of retro vintage kind of mood. So the thought of dusting off some vinyl and listening to some records just was really music to my ears. See what I did there? But in all seriousness, this thing sounds awesome. This system does not sound anything like the records I remember listening to back in the 80s. It really does bring today's technology into the old stuff and combines the best of the old and the new. Okay, so to start looking at the individual components here, let's start things off with the brains of the operation, the hub, if you were. The receiver is the Denon AVR-X 1500. This is basically the entry point into Denon's AVR-X series line of receivers, which is kind of their top tier higher end receivers. This is a 7.2 system pumping out 80 watts per channel and pretty much has any feature you could ever want in a receiver. It supports Dolby Atmos, DTS-X, DTS Virtual X, full 4K HDR pass-through on all the HDMI ports, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, AirPlay, HEOS, which is kind of their whole home multi-room listening platform, which you can control everything through an app, which is pretty awesome. It is Amazon Echo compatible. It has phono input for turntable, so no need for a preamp, dual subwoofer outputs, 5 HDMI inputs, 1 HDMI output, 2 optical ends, and a partridge in a pear tree. Sticking with that Christmas theme. I also really like a feature these amps have called the Odyssey Multi-EQ. So how it works is it comes with this cool little microphone, and it walks you through a tutorial where it has you move this microphone around the listening area, and it sends out these little chirps, kind of like a bat, to measure the acoustics of the room, and then it actually tunes the amp and all the speakers and everything to specifically fit the acoustics of your room, which is dope. Not knowing anything about audio engineering or anything, you can customize your system specifically to your listening space, which I thought was really awesome. So for any of you home theater surround sound guys, this is going to give you the best possible sound in your system when you're binging your Netflix stuff in your home theater. The only possible downsides I can see with this is because this is more of their entry level into the X series line of receivers, it is 80 watts per channel. So if that's not enough for you and you have some massive home theater system speakers that you need more than 80 watts going to, you might want to bump up the lineup a little bit. Also, it's only got 1 HDMI out going to your monitor, which for most people is going to be plenty. But if you have, for instance, like a flat screen TV and a projector hooked up to the same receiver, it's nice sometimes to have 2 outs so you can have an individual one going to each, which again, you would have to bump up a couple in the lineup to get that. But overall, fantastic receiver. Next up, bust out that old vinyl collection, because we're going to be talking about the Denon DP-400 turntable. And let me just start by saying, this is not your daddy's turntable. I must have been out of the turntable loop for a while. The last turntable I had was made of mostly plastic. It had the fake wood grain on it that most everything had back in the 80s, and it sounded like one of those old Victrola record players that had like the big horn on it that amplified the sound. Yeah, it didn't sound fantastic or look great if I'm being honest. Obviously, turntables have come a long way. This thing looks like a high-polished piece of modern art anyone would be proud to have displayed in their setup. And this might be showing my ignorance in the turntable category a little bit, but I did not know vinyl could sound so good. If I'm being honest, I haven't heard a record in years, nor have I heard other modern turntables for comparison. So, full disclosure, but I have ears, and I know it sounds good. And this thing sounds great. It has a curved, horizontal tracking tone arm that automatically returns to the rest when the record ends. Has a built-in phono equalizer, so if your amp doesn't have one, you're good to go. It has 3 speeds, 33, 45, and 78, so all of your different types of vinyl are covered. It comes with an MM cartridge, but supports MMC cartridges. It has a weighted belt-driven platter, and a really cool dust cover that looks super sleek and is totally removable and a stand to hold it, which I thought was way better than the ones I remember. Back in the day, it was just these big square boxy things that lifted up, and yeah, again, this looks way better. This looks super cool and sleek. I'm no audio engineer by any means, but this thing really does sound great, and the fit and finish on this thing is absolutely ludicrous. I really do understand now why so many people prefer vinyl as their form of listening to music. It really does have a fullness and kind of warm richness that other forms of media don't have. Now, not to give all the credit of how great this system sounds to the turntable, a lot has to be given to these speakers because these speakers are crispy AF. They sound great. They are the Demand Series D7 bookshelf speakers by Definitive Technology. These are the smallest bookshelf speakers in the Demand line, and they fit great into any setup. They'd also be great for home theater purposes. Definitive Technology markets these as high-end audiophile grade speakers, and I can totally see why. There is a whole lot of technical audio know-how that went into these bad boys. I mean,
offsetting the tweeter 5 degrees from the speaker's center line delivers better high-frequency dispersion for a more precise center stereo image by eliminating undesirable symmetric diffraction off the corners of the front baffle. Our linear response waveguide in the mid-range woofer section extends both on and off-axis frequency response while improving dispersion for more detailed mid-range timbre and center imaging.
What? I'll leave the highly technical stuff to those guys. Listening to that makes me feel the same way I feel when I listen to physicists talk about infinity and black holes and stuff like that. I mean, seriously, if you want a little bit of an ego gut check, go pull up some stuff on physicists talking about infinity and black holes. That crap will hurt your head for 3 days. But seriously though, Definitive Tech has put a whole lot of know-how in these little bad boys. They are 9.75 inches tall by 5.5 inches wide by 8.75 inches deep. The enclosure has an aluminum extruded front baffle with a mirror finish, high gloss, base ported cabinet. They are packing a 4.5 inch polypropylene balanced double surround system woofer and a 1 inch aluminum dome tweeter with a waveguide alignment lens. Around the back, we can see that nice base port we mentioned, which helps with the low end, and a pair of gold-plated binding posts. There are also some threaded inserts on the back, so if wall mounting them is your jam, you're covered. From a guy who's been around his fair share of tech and audio equipment in his life, I'm very impressed with the sound of these things. They impressed me enough that in a video that's coming out soon, a collaboration that I participated in with some fellow tech YouTubers, I listed these as my favorite tech item of 2018. That video, I think, is going to be available this weekend. It's being done by a fellow tech YouTuber named Keith, who runs a YouTube channel called Gamesky. It's going to be a video where you got several tech YouTubers talk about their favorite tech item of 2018. I think Jonathan Morrison's supposed to participate in it. Random Frank FP is supposed to be in there. Your Average Consumer. There's supposed to be several other guys in it, so it should be a great video. Once it's available, I will link it, or I'll link Gamesky's YouTube channel below so you guys can find it. Should be out this weekend, hopefully. So enough plug time. To get back on target with these speakers, to sum it up, these are some of the fullest, crispiest, most accurate speakers I have heard, especially at the size and price point. Which is a good point. Right now, they are $100 off, so if you're interested in picking these up, now would be a great time. The only possible downside I can see to these speakers is they are a smaller form factor. They're remarkably rich and full sounding and have great bass response, but they're not gonna have that super low, deep bass that you would get from a proper like 10-inch subwoofer. So if you're all about that bass and that's kind of your jam, I would recommend pairing these up with a subwoofer for kind of the best sound possible. So what are my final thoughts on these three kind of paired together as a sound system? I think all the way from people who are interested in dipping their toes and getting into the high-end audiophile grade kind of audio equipment, all the way up to people that are already deep into it would be very satisfied with this system. Even if you're not big into turntables and vinyl and stuff like that, this amp and these speakers would function outstanding in a home theater system. So rather sitting for hours and going through a bunch of your vinyl collection is your thing, or just lounging on the couch and binge watching a whole bunch of Netflix, I think this sound system could be great for you. Alright guys, so that's it for me today. I have not sat down to edit this yet, so I have no idea how long this is going to be. It was a lot of information to go over, so hopefully I'm able to pare this down to something that's palatable for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information out of it. If you did, feel free to give us a thumbs up. That always helps us out. As always, if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. We'd love to have you on board. I hope everybody is having a great week, and we'll see you in the next video.